It's amazing. Hey, everybody. It is Peter here from Strong Healthy Women, and welcome to Talking Wellbeing TV, where we share hints, tips, and advice about the foundations of well-being. And today I am joined by the lovely Ange Sinclair, the digestive detective. Hey, Ange, how are you?
I'm really well, Peter. Really well. It's glad it's Friday.
Awesome. You're glad it's Friday? We always like a good Friday. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah,
So we've had a go on. Yeah.
I was going to say I'm working tomorrow, so Friday having some time off on Friday always feels great to me. Feels like
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, extra day. Yeah. It's been a great conversation this week. It's been a really, really interesting topic. So all week we've been talking about a healthy, happy tummy. We started off the week by talking about variety and why that matters, and the colors and what they do for our body, and just simple little tips along the way, like chewing our food and going for a walk afterwards to help our digestive system, and just really understanding the impact that our digestive system actually has on how we're feeling, and like even the energy that we have. So it's been heaps of fun. And then we moved on to prebiotics and probiotics, and everybody got to hear it first. We talked about postbiotics. So that was pretty interesting as well too. And today we're going to move on to a topic which is it's sort of carbohydrates, but it is delving into a particular carbohydrates. And look, one of the things that I hear all the time is that I'm not eating any carbs, and I mean, just cutting things out like that is not a good thing, because our body needs every possible thing that's real, not so much the processed stuff. So we need all the real stuff. And so we wanted today talk about resistant starch. So why don't you tell us what that is and why that is so important to understand this particular carbohydrate?
Yeah, look, I think that the thing about, and can I just make a comment on low carb? For the ladies that train specifically, perimenopause, menopause, post-menopause, when you go too low carbohydrate, you blow out your thyroid, because a lot of women, as they head towards menopause, can have thyroid problems. So going super low carb will make that worse. So I always recommend to people that they do low carb. Men seem to be able to get away with it. Women not so much. And I think at the stage of our life we are too, we've got aging parents, grandkids, kids, some kids possibly still at home. So there's a lot for us to do. So that changes, again, how much stress we're under, and we need that energy from our thyroid to get us through that fatiguey, busy period. So I always think it's a good idea for people to remember that. And carbohydrates are good. So what resistant starch is? They are starch molecules, essentially, that resist digestion. Sounds easy, doesn't it? They function a lot like fiber. So starches are long chains of glucose, and are found in things like grains, potatoes, and other foods. But not all starch is digested easily. So a small part of it goes through our digestive system, unchanged basically, and then it's resistant to our digestion. And so what happens is some of the bacteria eat some of it, and the rest of it is used to make butyrate, what we talked about yesterday, that fuel that we have, that our colon cells need. So I think it's really important that we get some of this every day, resistant starch in our diet. And so some of the things resistant starch does is it improves our insulin sensitivity.
Glucose.
So it lowers our blood sugar as well. And so it's really nice to keep that stable. The other thing it does for women that exercise that are trying to lose weight, it's really good because it reduces our appetite. So I think that's an excellent thing to have in your diet when you're trying to lose a few kilos. and it's easy enough to find and get with resistant starch. So let's talk about, there's 4 types of resistant starch. The last one, so the last one, number 4, is not of no value to us. It's chemically made. It's man-made with chemicals, and we don't want to use that one. So type 1 is found in grains and seeds and legumes, and because it bonds within those really fibrous cell walls, it's really hard for us to get access to, and that's why it's a really good one for us. So it comes in things like grains and lentils and seeds. So that's a really good thing for us to eat those 3, because we find it really difficult to break it down, but our gut bacteria love that. And type 2 is found in starchy foods like raw potato and green bananas. Yes. And so type 3 is found when certain starchy foods get processed, like they're cooked and cooled, and then basically it becomes retrograde starch. And retrograde starch is not processed the same way. So, for example, if you ate half a cup of rice, when you put that half a cup of rice into your body, biomechanically or biochemically, it breaks down to half a cup of sugar, because that's just the natural progression. And when retrograde starch, it doesn't do the same thing. It doesn't break down into that glucose, and it's chemically and molecularly, I can't even say that word this afternoon, changed. Yeah, so it changes how our body digests it. So it's a really good starch to have in that respect. So, for example, when a banana goes from green to yellow, the resistant starch is lost completely. And then it just becomes starch, which is not as good for us as the retrograde starch or the resistant starch. So does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, and it's actually one of the recipes that we have in our sweet treats, the green bananas, and we actually turn them into a bit of a sweet treat. So which is quite yummy, I know. So. And it's a bit counterintuitive for us here in Australia, particularly to actually have green bananas and to eat them that way. So,
and I think because we've always been told they leave that little bit of a coating on your tongue, that they're not that great for us. We know different. And so one of the things I think I need to reiterate, and we just talked about, is it does almost the same job as a prebiotic. It feeds that butyrate, and it fixes our colon, our little 1-cell wall of our colon, that the colonic cells that are 1 cell thick, it helps keep them on track and keeps the integrity of them. So that's really good to include it all the time.
And so one resistant starch that I think most people are probably familiar with would be oats.
Yep. But oats are different too, though, because they are resistant starch, but once you cook them, the resistant starch is lost.
Interesting then, hey.
So, but if you eat them when they're hot, it's lost. But if you do what the Scottish do, so in years gone by in Scotland, they used to make a big pot of porridge, and they used to eat, and so they used to eat the bit to start with, and then they'd have drawers. So they didn't have storage containers then, so they used to pour the porridge with some grease-proof paper, whatever was the equivalent 200 years ago, into the drawer, and they used to pour the porridge in on top of it, and wrap it up, close the lid, push the drawer in, and let it sit there overnight. And in the morning, they'd pull it out and they'd slice it into bars. So those bars would be resistant starch because they've been cooked and they've been cooled.
Cooled.
Yeah, so it's the cooling action that gives you the resistant starch.
And then the other way to have them, Ange, would be then to take the raw oat and to soak it.
Yes, overnight oats.
Yeah, and overnight oats, yeah.
So overnight oats have about 40% more resistant starch than your porridge. So that's quite a significant amount to have, really. And it's a really easy thing to put into our diet. It's so easy.
Totally.
You know, the old style bircher, the overnight oat cups, the cup and go that you can make it overnight and then pop it into your handbag and take it off with you on your way to work. I really am a big advocate of those because I have seen resistant starch do amazing things for people's gut. So it's been really good.
Oh, yeah, totally. We've got a couple of recipes that use oats in that way in the 28-day transformation. So, and I personally particularly love it with a little bit of coconut through it.
Yeah, yum.
As well, yum. And then, maybe some almonds, just grated down and, just to give that little bit of chunk, and maybe a little bit of blueberries in there. And, there's just so many things you can do with it, and you're not restricted, as we talked about. You might make your overnight oats with, those three things, and then the next couple of days you might make it with something just a little bit different as well too. So you've got that variety happening.
Yeah, and I agree. I totally agree with you. I get people to use coconut yogurt, or you can use it almond milk. You can put peanut butter or nut butters, and there's 100 different nut butters you can make. You can add chia seeds into it as well. You can really put it up and make it really delicious. Passion fruit, oh my God, mango. Yeah, all good choices.
I think passion fruit's one of my favourites. I really like that, the taste of passion fruits. Yeah. You've just mentioned chia seeds. Do you want to talk about them a little bit? Do you want to tell us a little bit about chia seeds? Because I think they're quite maybe underrated a little bit about the benefits of them.
Can I just say a couple more things about resistant starch before we move on to chia? Is that okay? So
totally.
So a couple of benefits from resistant starch, and one of the reasons I get people to try and include them into their diet every day, because they benefit our colon by changing the pH of our colon, and that reduces the inflammation that we have in our colon and reduces the risk of us getting colon cancer. Because when there's any level of inflammation, that will really, spur on the downhill slide for our gut, and we don't want that. So having resistant starch is really good. If you have a condition like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, or inflammatory bowel disease, resistant starch is really great as well for that. Constipation, diverticulitis, and there's diarrhea. They're the three that are really, really benefited by resistant starch, because it can help smooth out that bowel function and help you get back to normal. And because they're conditions where there's inflammation, especially diverticulitis, it really, really, really reduces that level of inflammation. So I think they're really good things to know. The foods that resistant starch come in are cooked and cooled rice. The thing you have to remember about cooked and cooled rice is the next day when you go to use it, have a hot sauce rather than heating it up, because once you heat it, you lose the resistant starch. You can heat it to blood temperature, but as once you lose it. So I always say to my clients, have your cold rice, make like a butter chicken sauce or some sort of curry sauce or something to pour over the top and mix it in. So then you get all those lovely benefits. The other thing is, if you've made pasta and you don't make a little bit extra and then make a cold pasta salad, you get the benefits from that. A roast Sunday night dinner, if you make a roast, make a really big tray of roast potatoes, and I tend to quarter mine or into wedges, and then just have a wedge every day over the course of the week. So that's some really easy ways, and overnight oats, they're really easy ways to get them into your diet. And I suggest people do a little bit every day, just to make it easy.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
that's really brilliant.
Good. And I think resistant starch, prebiotics, are the two things that I see supercharge gut health in general. So if you can't do anything else, if you can't take probiotics, if you can't take things like sauerkraut or kombucha or those sorts of things, then look at doing prebiotics and resistant starch. They will make your gut really healthy.
Yeah, and during the weekend shared a list of the prebiotic foods, and everybody be really surprised about how many different types of foods they are. So we might put that link up again today, Ange.
Yep. Happy to do that.
Let's do that.
I'm not sure whether I did that on Wednesday. I can't remember. So I'll have to have a look.
Yeah,
I
have a
want
look.
to do it, but I just don't know if I did. So I'll double check that. And chia seeds. Now, I love chia seeds. I think they're very, very underrated, like you said. A couple of things with chia seed. They're very high in iron. They're great protein. They're very good for people who have constipation. But there's some things to remember about chia. So chia is used widely with marathon runners, and because what it does when they take chia, they take it just in a small amount of water and then take it. But then what it does is it expands. It can hold up. Chia can hold up to 9 times its weight in water. So which is great when you're a marathon runner and you're doing a marathon and you want that water to still be in your body. Not so great if you're a constipated person and you're putting in dried chia seeds. It will dry up in your stomach and most likely cause an obstruction for some. I've had some clients that have had to go to the hospital and be treated for obstruction. So my suggestion is, if you don't have any bowel problems, you could do this as well, is soak the chia seeds. And I think, if you soak them overnight, it's the best way to use them for maximum gut health, because if you're constipated and they've been soaked, and you can soak them in milk or water. If you soak them in water, so if you soak them in water, you can use them more as savory things. So, for example, I often put soaked chia seeds in scrambled eggs because they just, once they're soaked, they're not liquidy, and you just drop a couple of bundles in and mix it up, and it has a better effect for your bowel. It acts like a big broom and sweeps everything through. But when they're dry, they tend to not make it right through properly. So I think that's really important to remember. And I've had lots of people come to me and they've been constipated. And when we talk about what foods do you eat, they constantly eat chia thinking it's going to work as this intestinal broom, which everybody talks about. And it's not working like that for them because they're having it dry.
Yeah. And you can make a thing like a little chia pod as well too. So,
Absolutely.
you mentioned soaking it in water, you soak it in milk and then add whatever you like. So a little bit like the overnight oats really. So it makes a nice little brekkie as well. Yeah. Or if you've got that, a dessert. Yeah, that's right. Or you had that afternoon munchie, great option for people as well too. So I know that for Paul, I can't remember what he came home with. He had this list of things that he had to take. And I said, what are you doing? What's all that list about? And he's gone, oh, my endocrinologist said I've got to take this because I'm low in this and blah, blah, blah. And I've gone, let's just change your shaker, your smoothie of a morning. And let's start changing this. And I don't know. Anyway, he went back and they said, oh, yep, that's really good. Did you take those tablets we recommended? And he's gone, no, my wife just made me eat differently. So it can have a massive impact on, just changing one small thing. And that's all it takes is going, okay, well, I've listened to this 3-part series and there's a lot of information there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one thing and I'm just going to implement that one thing and just watch and listen to how my body reacts. And, as we spoke about the other day, check your poops.
Yeah.
And that will clearly tell you whether you're getting a better reaction from, whatever that small change is that you make as well too. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think we need to think about, even though food's not as nutritious as it was probably 20 or 30 years ago, food still is. And food is the first place you should go, because you can do a lot with food that you can't do with supplementation or medication even. So I think people forget that it's an easy fix. And that's why I say to people, think about when you look at what you're making your meal and you're about to, get tucked into it. Is there one more piece of veg that could go in this? Is there another piece of fibrous fruit that I could put in this? I think it's really important for people to look at it. And it's not just at lunch and dinner time, it's at breakfast time. I see people really struggle around what's for breakfast and things like that. So always go, what else could I add? And I tend to start with the colours when I make a meal, I don't start with the protein. I start with the colours and work my way out. I go, is there colours? Is there beans? Is there a piece of resistant starch? Oh, and then I'll put the protein in. And protein's important, it's got to go in there, but that's always my last.
Oh, definitely.
My last thing. So, and I think that's really easy for us to be able to do.
Yeah, and I also find with the protein side of it that as aging women, we do tend to probably not eat as much protein as what we do need as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that I find that, you know, we're generally only going for pretty much a half serve as opposed to that full serve of protein as well.
Yeah.
So
and it's important. So women up to about 50 need about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram. Women over 50, and especially if you're doing a little bit of exercise, women over 50 and up to 70, around 70, you're looking at having 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram, you know, as your serving of protein, and more if you're exercising, because it's really important. Protein, and I think as women we forget that protein is what is our whole DNA is built on. If we don't have it, we can't repair. Yeah, and we just can't repair and recycle. And you know, as we age, we want to be repairing and recycling as much as we can. So that keeps.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to impact that aging process that we're going through. We want to stay as young and as active as we possibly can for as long as we can. And that means, you know, eating and fueling our bodies so that it feels energized, and so it feels like it's a younger version of ourselves, you know. And there's so many good tests you can do too, that show you what your real age is as well too, and that's a really interesting process to go through. And you know, just moving constantly is always a really important aspect. Sleeping well, getting that stress under control, and the incidental moving is really a big thing, because sitting is such a massive thing that happens, you know, after I've just sat here for 2 days at a conference there.
I'm sure they had you up dancing and wriggling regularly.
We did have some dancing and wriggling, yeah, we did, definitely, which was fun.
I think what people have to understand with health in general, there's no one thing. You know, I often get people say to me all the time, give me the magic pill. Well, if there was a magic pill, I would be living in the Bahamas. You know, I wouldn't be in downtown Sydney. So I think the thing is, like you said before, pick one thing, get really proficient at that, and then move to the next thing. I think it's, you know, it's not hard to add one extra vegetable every week. It's not hard to add some beans every week. It's not hard to put resistant starch in. But when you try and do them all together, when you've got aging parents or a job you've got to go to or exercise you've got to go to, it becomes much more complicated then. Whereas if you just do one thing and do it really well, that's okay. You know, so I think that's a really good strategy.
Yeah, and it is about consistency. So just doing it each and every day until it becomes part of your automatic habits. So part of your DNA, it's something that you do each and every day. And that varies, you know. In some instances that could be 14 days to create the habit, and others, you know, it could be 128 days. So, you know, this thing about 66 days, that's an average, and every single one of us is very, very different when it comes to actually, you know, getting rid of bad habits and creating new habits. So that's a whole other story in itself.
And I find with habits, people tend to fall off the wagon, and it's easy, and they just go, oh, I've fallen off the wagon, so I didn't think I'd bother. And I say, we're human. You know, we're human beings, not human doings. So let's just think about adding the stuff back in and starting again. You don't have to be perfect. It's not about look, on a Friday afternoon, sometimes I have a bag of chips. That's not the end of the world. But tomorrow morning when I get up and have breakfast, I'm going to make sure that I have those veggies and the things that I tell people to do. And I do this for a reason. I don't know whether we talked about this on Monday. But there's been a study done around fruit and vegetables about how attractive fruit and vegetables make you. Did I tell you that? I can't remember.
No, please do. Tell us.
I don't know who paid for it, but somebody has actually paid for this very large study that the more vegetables you eat, the more attractive you become. And so when I dug into it, they took people who hadn't eaten very much fruit and vegetables, and it was subjective. They've got people to say how they scored them out of 10. Yeah, and then so a couple of months later, they've gone back, and after they've eaten vegetables intensively for that month, and said that they are really attractive. And so, you know, rather than go and getting that facelift or our eyelids done or whatever it is we do,
eat your veggies. I think it's because it just gives us that glow. You know, we start to shine from the inside out.
Yeah. And it's the antioxidants in it, because eventually when you're eating more fruit and veg and legumes and stuff, there's lots and lots of antioxidants. So the problem with aging is as we age, our body breaks down and burns off the free radicals. And the more free radicals we've got, the more damage is done to our skin and our body bits and, you know, inside mechanics. Whereas when you have lots of fruit and vegetables and lots of antioxidants, you don't break down as quickly. Your skin ages better. You can fight off some of those free radicals a lot better, and you just function better. The brain, joints, all those things. So I think it's really important that we do that to keep looking young.
Totally. And beautiful, because we are. Is there anything you want to round up with today, Ange?
No, look, I think we've covered heaps of ground this week. I think we've covered lots. So basically, if anybody came to see me at consultation, all those things we've talked about, we would talk about. So, you know, essentially I've given 2 whole consultations to everybody over the course of 3 days. So it's information that you can pop into your life really seamlessly. You've just got to start. And if you fall off the wagon, get back. It's not really that hard. And it's the little things that count. It's the showing up every day, doing it every day, those things that really count, because it's the little steps over and over that get us to where we need to be.
Yeah, totally. You know what? I was just thinking, Ange, what we should probably do is pop a link up, as you know, in case anybody actually wants to find you and, you know, have a chat with you.
Yeah.
Because they've taken a list of.
Yeah. I do offer a free 15-minute consultation, which I'll give you some things to do at home, and then you can go off and see how that goes. So I definitely put that in there for you if there's anybody that needs.
That'd be awesome.
Or would ask, or even ask a question. And if anybody wants to ask a question in the group, I'm happy to go on and answer that for you as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks, Ange, for joining us. We are back on Sunday morning at 10. For a quick little wrap up of a massive topic that we've had during the course of this week. So thanks for joining me. And thanks, ladies, and we shall see you all soon. Hey, bye. Bye.